Is that that? We seem to be on YouTube, but there was they now have started to put the chat down underneath the YouTube video. So, oh, there's the thing. I couldn't find this earlier. Okay, I had to pop out the chat and put it some.
You can knock it to the side, or
yeah, because they started putting it underneath the YouTube video instead of beside it, where I'm used to seeing it.
it's more convenient on the side because otherwise you're too much up and down.
Righto, but today it worked, so we're on the internet and we're ready to go. And so, good evening, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, or no, it's 8 o'clock in the East. Do you know where your children are? It's hard to believe we've already been talking for an hour. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about the Court of Wands, and what that means is the 4 court cards of the Wands suit as a starting point for wherever we go after that, which may be quite far afield. And so the way I'm going to do it is Robert Wang wrote an excellent book called The Kabbalistic Tarot. And I haven't used much of Robert Wang up to this point, but it's a textbook of mystical philosophy, etc., by Robert Wang. Now, he also wrote 4 books about the use of the tarot and about divination and so on. And so throughout this course, I've been using his suggested syllabus, which was to go through the major arcana first by week, and that we've done. We then had 5 weeks in which we talked about 5 suits, including the 5th tarot suit, which we did last week. And so now we're going to double back and talk about the minor arcana. And there's a few other people arriving now. So let me start this off by talking about the princesses of wands. And what I want to do is, Robert Wang has 4 princesses from 4 different tarot decks in his sort of teed up. And so what I want to do is I want to show these 4 princesses and then read what he says about the princesses of wands. And then we can just have an open discussion about these 4 suits and maybe others. So I'm going to share the 4 that he's talking about here. So on the upper left, we have the Golden Dawn deck. On the upper right, we have the Thoth deck. On the lower left, we have the Rider-Waite. And unfortunately, I went through my normal Rider-Waite deck and I can't find my Princess of Wands. So it got
the page, right?
So I have a miniature Rider-Waite deck. And so that's the page there. And then the Marseille deck is the Valet de Bâton, or the Valet of Wands. And so anyway, it's very short, half a page, what he says about this, so I'll just read it. So first of all, he's talking about the princesses. And he says they represent the forces of the hay. Yod Hey Bow Hey. Is that the? Yeah,
I believe so.
Yod Hey Bow Hey. So that's
the 4 letters of God.
Yeah, the 4 letters of God, or maybe the 2 letters of God, because I'm not sure Hey is a letter, but in any case, they represent the forces of He, final of the name in each suit, completing the influences of the other scales, the mighty and potent daughter of a king and queen, a princess powerful and terrible, a queen of queens, an empress, whose effect combines those of the king, the queen, and the prince. Yet her power existeth not save by reason of the others, and then indeed it is mighty and terrible materially, and is the throne of the forces of the spirit. Woe unto whosoever shall make war upon her when thus established. Okay, so here's the Princess of Wands now. And this is in the, these 4 cards are all the same levels, but he calls them the Princesses of Wands, as they do in the first 2 cards there. Okay, here's what he says. Princess of Wands, Princess of shining flame, the rose of the palace of fire, Princess and Empress of the salamanders, throne of the Ace of Wands. The Princess of Wands is earth of fire, the personification of specific earth of primal fire. In the Golden Dawn card, her hand rests upon a golden altar decorated with ram's heads, Aries, reminding us that in the system of decans, it is Aries which both begins and ends the series. The fire being sacrificed on the altar of Malkuth, the fire of the wand, now is imposing as to be considered a dangerous club, and the fire beneath her feet shoots upwards. This card is as dynamic and unpredictable as the tiger, which is the crest of the princess. Okay. In this card, as in all of his court cards, Crowley attempts to represent the activity of the force in question. His swirling, dancing figure, inseparable from the tiger, is the mundane aspect of fire. Here, especially, Crowley's dependence on the Golden Dawn designs is clear. Okay, so he's referring to Crowley as the upper right, I guess. He's the one with the Thoth deck, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one must—
And Frida Harris, the illustrator.
Yeah, one must finally comment on the Waite pages and the knaves of the Marseille deck, both of which are exoteric, insofar as these cards symbolize the bride of microprosopus. They are understood to be female because the He final is the inferior mother. Waite knew this, and in representing a young man, was perhaps avoiding an idea which he considered to be an esoteric secret. Okay, so that's what we've got so far on the princesses. So anyway, I think that one interesting thing about this particular discussion that he has is that she contains the power of all. So as I recall, when I was growing up in my family, and my sister was my younger sister, she could rely on the power of her 2 older brothers in addition to her parents, right? So a parent will always defend the princess, right? But also everybody in the family, at least all the male members of the family do also. And so therefore she contains the power of the family in that sense. Comments, go ahead.
Mr. Mr. Skip, would you mind if I read the description of the page of wands of the tarot of the Rider-Waite
Oh yeah,
deck
that's fine.
from the book I'm reading? Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
then you guys can.
I just need to stop the share just for a second and make sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to read this very short, so it's not going to take that long, but
yeah.
You guys know more than me, so maybe you can comment what it says.
Okay.
After it says, in a scene similar to the former.
So we're talking about this card, the page of
yes,
wands.
the page of wands. Yeah,
right.
And it's also making a reference to the previous card. It's the knight. So it says, in a scene similar to the former, a young man stands in the act of proclamation. He is unknown but faithful. In his tidings are strange. The divinatory meaning is dark young man, faithful, a lover, an envoy, a postman. Besides a man, he will bear favorable testimony concerning him. A dangerous rival if followed by the page of cups. Then says reverse, it's anecdotes, announcements, or evil news. And then person, it says bearer of fresh news, part of self, is self-aware, energy, enlightening. That's the description. That's all that it says in the book that I'm reading. But I found interesting that says that of the self, it represents the self-aware. So I don't know if you agree with that, but yes, I wanted to share that.
I think I do, in the sense that a princess knows how to wrap her father and her brothers around her little finger and then aim them in the right direction. Ideally. Okay, let's see. So other comments on these cards?
I want to try, but my dog keeps barking every time I unmute.
You may have to give one of those up for some chew time.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
You can see out the window. Anyway, when you're reading about the Princess of Wands in the first deck, is that the Golden Dawn?
The Golden Dawn, yes.
Okay. What you read was that she carries the affect of the parents, the king and queen, and that's the countenance. So she doesn't just have the powerful effect; she has the affect, which means her look is with the power, not just the power behind her, but that's her power. It belongs to her.
Sure.
So
right.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was all.
Okay.
I would chime in that as she does hold this certain resurgence of power, she also carries part of the lineage. So that's why, even though she's heading in the direction of the sun and Aries and the power, and she's holding also a wand with the sun, she as well is carrying part of that lineage. Is attached to her.
Right.
So she's not so in that one, and the one from the Crowley deck, although she has all these liberal attributes, she nonetheless is tied. She is carrying a quite a powerful low. It's coming from behind her. So even though it does support her, the tiger is rather facing down and so on. So she has to carry also that's this lineage that's attached to her tail.
I just saw that in the first one, she's wearing a tiger coat.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the second one, she's dragging a tiger. That's interesting.
Yeah, the lineage there, it goes back to what Patricia said about the self-aware, because you get the tiger's skin. The tiger has basically totem donated, and then the tiger and the woman and the princess are the same. And rather than a head and eyes, she has antenna up top, like butterfly antenna. And then the salamanders all over the cloak on the Rider-Waite, that's a symbol of ancient knowledge. And potency.
Glad you came.
Yes.
So the
Yeah,
salamanders, sign of ancient knowledge. I'll remember that the next time I have a gecko on my mirror in Hawaii.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because what happens then is you have such a primitive, like a salamander's like in a way a bit of a worm. I mean, it's soft and shellless and vulnerable, but they're often poisonous. So they're not vulnerable so much. So they're, in a sense, they have the nudity of a star. They need no veil. So they bring that power from way back before days of old and ancient, but they're aware and conscious. So they have both way down deep in the underworld in their waterland, but like crabs, they can climb up on the land and breathe air too.
Mm-hmm.
So they travel between two worlds.
I'm looking for my deck, the modern witch deck, something like that. And the wands are represented by salamanders seen in the steam or the smoke of offerings.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
So I'll have to find them.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a symbol. The poison of a salamander too would be a symbol of the energy that would move through you and affect you, that countenance. So not necessarily poison, but Tammy, when you brought up the countenance, that's a big point there. That's really important. I mean, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, so the word in the book was that Skip read was affect. And we have this rule in English where affect and effect are, one is a noun and one is a verb,
Right.
but they can each also be a noun or a verb, depending on, I'm talking from medical experience. So they would talk about a person's affect when they came in, say, to a psych ward. They would talk about having an affect of frustration or whatever. So the book said she has the affect of her royalty, of her, the king and queen. That's all I'm saying. Is like she carries herself just like them, and expects that the same response when she's standing there. Her countenance demands respect, the same respect of the rest of her royal family.
Well, no, and that's a great point, because then from that medical scenario is really good, because they come in and the affect is, so this person's condition presented as, that's their affect. And then that affect can actually affect someone. So there's then the noun and the verb in tandem. And then the effect is then what the affect will produce. So it kind of goes round and round, but it's a good point that the noun and the verb can be both used with the same word, because energy is nothing if it's just stationary. But as Skip said, when the princess wraps the males around the finger and points them, well, she's doing that. That's the affect. She points them and shoots them, basically.
The affect is literally the face.
Right.
So it's really not quite that it's the way she's carrying herself. It's the way her face emotes. So they don't look at a patient's arms to decide what their affect is. They look at their
physiognomy.
face.
Yeah, the face. Okay.
So
well, and the clear example of this role is Ivanka Trump. Right.
Well, actually,
she doesn't have an affect.
No, she does. It's a defect. But anyway, but I see a lot of Pallas Athena or Minerva in this character. And what's interesting is from a warring and strategy perspective, Pallas Athena would make Mars look like he's playing checkers to her chess. So that gaze, her look will stop a war, or preclude one from starting, or start one. Exactly, both.
Right. Okay. Good. That was a good round. I was hoping.
Oh, Lisa just said in the chat, is this card parallel to the warrior goddess Pallas Athene and astrology? And that's exactly where I'm coming from. The asteroid Pallas Athene, or Pallas Athena, or some people refer to as Minerva, is another one of her names. But she's very prominent in how I use astrology, and she's the ultimate strategist. Above her would be Astraea, Astraea, and she would make Pallas look like she's playing checkers to Astraea's chess. So there's kind of a sacred feminine pecking order going up, and Mars would be like a little boy with a hammer, and Pallas Athena would have a nice big wand with magic and a look that could stop a car. So yes, very definitely.
We've all
Pallas.
had that look.
Well, that's very interesting, because in the two top cards that he showed, that you say she has the look that would stop. One of them is they're both are showing nudity, either from the back or from the front, which are symbols of hello, wake up.
Well, there's that, but they're also symbols of strength and strong enough to be gentle. They need no veil, so they are strong enough to present nude,
as they are. Yes.
As they are. Just like there's an old quote of the nudity of the star, because the star, like celestial star, the star needs no veil. So there's absolutely nothing other than sovereignty going on there. I could give a personal example. My stepmother, when I was 14, I said something, dumb, like a 14-year-old would, trying to get out of, win an argument. I think I said something like, well, you can't say that. You're not my real mom. Yeah. And she's 5'4", and she gave me that look. And all I thought is, she's going to eat me.
So Raquel is asking about the time. And so we went on daylight savings time on Saturday.
That's right. They don't
Saturday
have that
night, Raquel. And so the result is we should be closer in time to you. So right now it's 8:22. It should be 9:22 in Brazil, but let me just double check my.
Oh, I need to say hi to Raquel. And if Nick is somewhere in YouTube, also hi.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Sao Paulo is now 1 hour ahead, not 2 hours ahead. So Raquel, that means that you won't have to stay up quite as late. It'll be 1 o'clock in the morning instead of 2 o'clock in the morning when we finish.
Still turn into a pumpkin at 12, but
right.
So they don't change their clocks?
I don't think so.
Not yet. Many countries change at different times, and even we change the time that we change our time. So because it used to be off into April before we did it. But
one of the jokes here is that when the time change, your devices, they change with magic. Your oven, your range, call a friend. Your car, just wait 6 months. Too much trouble.
Yeah, we managed to do it though today. Debbie and I did it, and I got a haircut today, which was terrific, and Debbie did too.
That's good.
We went to the Naval Exchange barber shop, and I've only seen that barber one time in the last 15 months, but I thought I could go back there because it's safe in the Navy, because everybody's wearing a mask very reliably and so on. But my wife wouldn't let me go back until we were vaccinated. So now we've been vaccinated, and so she and I both got our hair cut by my barber.
Nice. Yeah. Could you put the image set back up on the screen for those four?
Yep, I will. Just a moment. First, I have to find it.
The first one was from the top deck, you said?
The second one is
The second,
top
the one on the
deck.
top right is the top deck.
Yeah, okay.
And the
There you
first
go.
one?
Here's
Yeah,
the image set.
the Crowley deck. Yeah, I have it.
So if you call your attention to the Thoth deck on the Princess of Wands on the top right, two key features I find
Top
to
left.
understand, or top left, top right for the Thoth,
Okay.
the Princess of Wands, with the tiger and the antenna eyes and the sun. If you look in closely, really, the sun is like a lollipop wand. She's wielding the sun. And then also she's embracing the tiger by the tail. So there's the old got the tiger by the tail, except the tail wraps around her throat. So the tail would be that salamander symbol of primitive, ancient animal, because it's covering her voice. So then that's why her eyes then see like butterfly antenna. So it enhances her voice by giving her an inner vision that comes out. And she literally wields the sun.
Jordan, I have a question for you. What would it mean for you to be self-aware? Because it seems like if that is like one characteristic of this card, it seems like once you are self-aware of who you are, you can bend the tiger, you can bend the sun, the fire, or I don't know. Maybe I'm getting the wrong idea with this card.
Not at all.
It's
No, you're
not-
right on the money.
It's not only this card though, Patricia. You're self-aware when you're aware of all these cards in all the suits.
And just, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And to speak though
right.
directly to your question with that card and the tiger's not really a tiger. The tiger is her inner animal. So she is at one with, she understands the differentiation psychologically between her conscious body, which is a female form at the top, though it has antenna, but that her unconscious body is specific intensity of a tiger. So there's not just a comfortability with instinct, it's the awareness of intensities and how to, like Skip said, direct them. So if you look at her and the tiger actually as one being, but just metaphorically or allegorically split off like a sculpture to tell the whole story, that's the inside and the outside all at one time. So in a sense, there's kind of a devil card, the comfortable with the intensities. Except here, it wouldn't be inhibition, that it would be the roots of addiction kind of intensity. It's more, this is someone who has that, as Tammy said, affect. This is that gaze, because that gaze comes from raw power, like a blowtorch that's been tuned. It's not a loose, wandering flame. It's a cutting torch. So it's the mastery of the inner animal fire. So really good question there. To me, and that's self-awareness.
Imagine Ivanka Trump giving you a dirty look. Something like that.
Well, you get the piercing eyes that has both 1,000-yard stare, but also is looking right at you. It's looking 999 yards into you. So that's self-awareness. I think that inner animal differentiated it, and understanding that, not just curious about it, not just exploring it, actually wielding it as a whole integral part of your being, to me would be self-awareness in this context.
To me, I'm looking at two of these cards now, the Golden Dawn one in the upper left. That look with the eyes makes me believe that she's looking inward. Okay.
Right, the backwards eyes, the backwards looking eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the eyes on the Marseille deck, interestingly, also suggest that, because the pupil is sort of up. I mean, we're mostly seeing the white of her eyes. So when people are thinking inwardly about something that's going on in the body, for example, they tend to roll their eyes back.
Right. And in the extreme case of schizophrenia, it's all whites. The eyes completely go in because they're self-consumed with that complex.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a really good point. It's not just inner vision, it's inward looking vision, so that you can see clearly your inner landscape.
Well, I'm not sure I ever see clearly my inner landscape.
And that's I think the notion.
I'm not that prideful, but
I don't want to have hubris about it, but it's the ability to, I think the self-awareness there would be the ability to, just like pointing a camera, just as easily as I'm looking at any of you, that the notion is to be able to refine the ability to look that way at yourself, rather than only being projecting or having to have a third person perspective to understand what you're experiencing. If that speaks to your question.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The symbol that she holds in the wand, it looks like also like a sunflower at the end, and the sunflower orients itself with the sun.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Definitely she's on a stream. She's not out of the stream. She's on a stream, caught completely on a stream that is pointed to the sun.
And so she's riding the solar path. That's a good point.
So her skill is to illuminate something because she's holding it in her hand.
Yeah.
Well, and you get the trinity then of the sun, and then the two antennae. One would then be masculine sacred, one would be feminine sacred, and then the whole self-same identity wielded on the feminine hand, left side, sacred feminine of the sun. So again, a masculine, feminine, unless you pinned it in ancient cultures, and then they looked at the sun as a feminine force because it gave life. So.
And both of those top cards have fires that look like torches, which are illuminating.
Right, like a Vesta, sacred fire kind of thing. Yeah.
The celestial light, and these torches are earthbound lights, seems like.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Because in the celestial light illuminating the world, she makes her that large of an archetypal figure.
I also just noticed that there's 4 court cards, and they are actually depicted there. She has 2 ram horns going, 3 what she's holding in her hand, and the wand with the sunflower, and then she's the 4th that's carrying the entire the lineage where she comes from. So all of them are represented there.
That's an interesting point about the lineage, because I see the antenna with the salamander notion that's not shown, but then you say the ram's horns, and that's a totally legitimate interpretation of that visual piece, coming off of her head, that those are actually ram's horns or antlers.
Yeah, they're ram horns, I believe.
Interesting.
And even that's a differentiated exoskeleton. I mean, that's the skull actually coming out like antenna.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Moving along. Let's try the Prince here. Prince of Wands. Oh, there's Justin. And so I have a message that I have to pass to Justin from Samantha. Have I gotten it? No, that's the princesses again. Sorry, I got the wrong one. So just in case, Samantha wants to write to you, but she has, I think she lost your email address. So if you would write to Samantha again, she would appreciate it. And I think she said that if she offended you in the previous time, she wants to make amends for that. So this is a private message for just in case. Please write to Samantha. I believe you do have her email address, so we'll leave it at that for the time being. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can give you the princes.
And Lisa brought up a good comment in the chat. And it's like pecking order is not very, it's not really good order. It doesn't last very long. It's temporary. I mean,
Yeah,
I think she had indicated actually what she said was, there's no unity with pecking order.
that's for sure.
Competition energy rather than community energy.
My father and I knew exactly when it switched between him and me, for
Right.
example, and I can point to that moment. And so, anyway, okay, here are the princes, and I will just read to you what Wang says about princes here, and then we'll continue the discussion. So, just first of all, princes in general. These princes are seated on chariots and thus borne forward. They represent the vowel forces of the name in each suit, the mighty son of the king and the queen, who realizes the influences of both scales of force. A prince, the son of a king and a queen, yet a prince of princes and a king of kings. An emperor whose effect is at once rapid, though not so swift as that of a king, and enduring, though not as steadfast as that of a queen. It is therefore symbolized by a figure born in a chariot and clothed with armor, yet in his power illusionary, unless set in motion by his his father and mother. Okay, so going further, the princes are very complex cards in that they are wholly activated by the king and the queen. As the text suggests, they have no motive power of their own, being pulled along in their chariots, but from the standpoint of the enlightened tarot, these cards are all important. First, it will be seen that the lion, eagle, man, arch fairies there, and bull are the four cherubim. These are very ancient symbols of the elements attached to many different religions. They appear among the gods of the Assyrians. They are the four animals in the Old Testament vision of Ezekiel. They are the four symbols of the Christian evangelists. They are the rulers of the four elements of the Kabbalah. In Kether, they are the primordial elements, which become the united rulers of the elements in Tifereth, and which are individually expressed in Malkuth. The princes are the personified forces, kings of those elements brought into perfect balance in Tifereth. If the cards are set out in a row, wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, which I did not do, the golden light of spirit may be imagined as permeating the four and directing the cherubim to pull the chariots. These are the most refined aspects of the personality. They are the elemental kings of ourselves. As such, the princes may be taken in any direction by the divine will. The energy of the Prince of Wands may be applied with justice or with cruelty. I won't go on with the others, but now I'll just read about the Prince of Wands. Or before that, it will now be appreciated why the princes in a divination often represent the coming and going of an event or person, and the princesses often represent approval or disapproval of a matter. the Prince of Wands, the Prince of the Chariot of Fire, Prince and Emperor of the Salamanders, last decan of Cancer, first 2 decans of Leo. The Prince of Wands is heir of fire, specific heir of primal fire. In the Golden Dawn and Crowley cards, this chariot is drawn by the lion of Leo, symbolizing enormous strength, which may be turned in either direction and which has the potential for violence if angered. In the Golden Dawn card, the prince holds the elemental fire wand, while the Crowley's prince holds the phoenix wand associated with the fiery Sephira Gabora. Generally, the princess knights in the Marseille and Waite decks are unexceptional and need not be discussed. Okay.
Love it.
We have so many young men who are just irrelevant because of their attitude and their opinion, and they're kind of irrelevant. So anyway, that was what Wang had to say. Any other thoughts here?
I'll
I
chime
can't
in
help
that.
but-
Go ahead.
Matt, I can't help but think of Prince Charles, particularly with all the events that have been going on lately.
Yeah.
And tonight before this, I had a conversation with my sister, who I don't speak to very much. And, but it was absolutely imperative to talk to her because our grandmother was such a, supporter of the monarchy, I guess would be the only way to put it, right? She was a Virginia gentlewoman, born in 1883, and could recite to you anything about any of the monarchs of England from the beginning of the monarchy all the way, way back before 900. So I knew that I had to discuss this with my sister. And the first thing that my sister said about the current situation, which hadn't occurred to me, is that Charles might just die first, even before his mother. And then it's another prince, right? So William. So this whole issue of how much power does a prince have or not have is something that I think for many of us watching this kind of tawdry soap opera of what's going on, especially these last couple of weeks, we begin to understand something about that. And also in that discussion about the affect, one of the expressions that I'm very familiar with is flat affect. And flat affect is sometimes, again, like it was discussed about in a mental institution or something, it's a person who doesn't show any emotion whatsoever. But one of the great strengths, I think, of Elizabeth is that she is able to present this affect that shows this very small modicum of emotion, just enough so you know that she's a living, breathing, sane person.
Right.
She's not insane. She's not just flat affect, but it is the least amount necessary. And then she is surrounded with people who are, demonstrative, if I can put it that way. So that's what this discussion is bringing up for me.
And that's why she was the right monarch at the right time.
Oh,
Right.
Amazing.
And if you see the jokes of her looking at the new baby, the thought process, the thought bubble in her head is, I'm going to outlive you too.
Right.
And I have to say, it's like I was talking to a friend of mine and he was talking about this and that. I said, well, think about the long game. Well played.
Yeah.
Birthing a royal on U.S. soil, so a royal could be POTUS.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a way to
Well, he's not a royal anymore. They're not royals anymore.
right. But someone from the lineage could then, come into POTUS.
In theory, yes.
In my small little book of the Thoth tarot, it offers that this particular the Prince of Wands is the airy part of fire.
Mhm.
The airy
Mhm.
part of fire. Therefore, it has that messenger thrust moving through air that delivers whatever, and also the fact that can handle abstract. That's why there's cruelty and not because it can be completely ferocious. It can also be abstract like air
Mhm.
with a quality of logos or
Yeah, air can cool you down, and it can
Mhm.
also enhance a fire.
Right. So it can do both. It can get, whereas the princess was carrying more the thrust. Here, there's a second element, the airy part of fire, that now can carry the thrust and have some something behind that logos and can move it either way.
I noticed that the Knight of Wands has salamanders on his tunic,
Mm-hmm.
as you were referring to.
And he's a moving target. He's
Yes.
not standing, or it's a moving target constantly.
And I was trying to zoom in with my phone on the cape behind the Knight of Wands, or Prince of Wands, and the Thoth deck, and without the little black specks, they seem to be round-ish, but I couldn't tell if they had tails, if they were salamanders,
Let's see.
to keep that theme going.
You're talking about the Thoth deck, right?
Yeah, they look at the two triangular golden areas with the black dot pointillist things.
Where are you talking about? What
right
quadrant?
by the ibis head on the top of the wand. You see the little black marks in the gold field behind.
Yeah.
But then I
So
think
what
if
do
I
you
see
think
the
they
ones,
could be?
well, I was looking to see if they were salamanders, but I don't think they are. I think they're
No.
just marks. They're
And you
more.
can also see the bird there on top of his wand, which means the air part of fire.
Well, yes, and even more back to your other point, that's an ibis head.
Mhm.
And the old concept, and with that, if you look at its breastplate, it's a 7-pointed alchemist star. And the concept of having ibis eyes means you see beyond worlds, because an ibis will pull the foot up, stare down at the fish. But as we all know, with refraction of light, the fish is not actually where you see it. And they will strike from this world to another place that's unseen, basically, and pull the fish out. So you're striking at a target that's not where you're looking at it. So that wand there is a symbolic indicator of being able to see beyond worlds, which also then commands awakening.
But I have a question with this card that you're talking about. Where is this prince going? Is he going into war, or is he going on a journey, or is he going on business trip, or what? Where is he going? According to this drawing or the depiction of the prince in this card, the Golden Dawn.
I think it's the self-same whole of the self, capital S, on the move within a person.
And going into action also.
Right.
Yeah, but what kind of action? Does it say something about it, or it's just?
Well, I think you have to have the whole reading in order to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had indicated a couple of different tenors of how it could go: loss versus someone moving on. And I think Skip's point there, to have this one in context. The court cards in context almost need an activator. If you do a 1-card reading and get a court card, you're not shooting in the wind completely, but I find that it's easier to kind of get them in community, to give them some context and land them, because they're so far in and out at the same time. in balance. I mean, the intensity is just harmonious, but it's also intense, like a volcano is intense.
Yeah.
There's nothing held
Thanks.
back. Capital N nature going on.
Or it's carrying the message and the power, because the air part would be the message and the fire part is the power that activates, that
There you
allows
go.
it to keep going.
Yeah, there you go.
Behind the message is certainly a messenger of, some kind,
And even the lion is looking right at us.
and a powerful one. It
Mhm.
carries the element of birth, because it's got all that red fire. And also birth and burning can do either one.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well, I wonder if there's an image of Hades with all the flames in front. I see the little black, maybe figures, like they're the people at the bottom of the gates of hell and at the front of the chariot. Oh, Raquel has her hand up.
Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here. I'm not gonna open my camera today because I had like a long day of pain. So I'm actually in my bed, but
Good for you.
Okay.
I have a question actually. Do you guys work with the idea of like the court cards being people that come to us? Because the Mythic Tarot has that idea that all the court cards are presented to us as other people, people that come to our lives, or that people that already exist in our day-to-day life. So and it's not just in a passive way, like, oh, it's just like a set of characteristics that it's outside of you, but it's kind of like people that come to us to remind us of a certain aspects of ourselves. Do you guys work with that too?
Well, I do have the Mythic Tarot here, so let me
Yes.
pull it up.
And Raquel, in readings, definitely that. And to even enhance it, I find that it's a person who's going to come, who's above your ability level to receive. So it's someone who's going to enhance you, because there's a royal self. So it's going to get you to own up to a higher octave of your own higher self kind of person.
Yeah,
Rather-
and I thought of that because of Patricia's question, kind of like a way of answering that. Where is this night going to go, or
Right.
where is he heading? I think that in the Knight of Wands in the Mythic Tarot, I think Skip is going to read it later.
Wow, I have it now.
Because
Do you
there's
want to
like,
read it?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is, let me pull up the card though, because you have to
Because there's
see it.
you're bringing up a good point, Raquel, that you're going to be challenged. So it's one of those, instead of don't waste trouble, you actually are going to have to make a diamond out of misfortune. So you're going to have to really stand there like a pre-king, or as it were, a prince, and have that same Elizabethan, just enough emotion that they know you're alive, but you're completely sovereign.
Yeah.
But they're going to actually evolve you even further, if to use the character of people coming along.
Well, these are very interesting cards. I did not scan them tonight, but I can show them. First of all, let me show the Page of Wands, which shows a very callow fellow. Let me just change this. So here's the callow fellow charging across the place. Let me stop my cloaking for this purpose. Okay, so here's the callow fellow who's charging across the scene, a red sun behind him.
And charging to the left, which
And
is to the unconscious.
right, and he's charging on a ram. Okay.
He's literally going in.
Yeah, but then the Knight of Wands is this guy who apparently is on Pegasus.
Mhm.
He really is on Pegasus. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would be
I
him
don't know.
in where the page went. So the magical unconscious within, where the Pegasus would reside.
Yeah, and I'm not very clear what the creature is sort of under the ground there.
It's Chimera.
Chimera, right.
Okay,
Chimera.
so
Pegasus
Chimera
is from Dallas.
is a fake. Is a fake.
Tammy, that's awesome.
Okay, so Pegasus is well, Chimera
Is the-
means Chimera means a fake something or other, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of a monster
It's yeah.
in the mythic Greek mythology that Bellerophon is actually the hero of this card. He killed Chimera
Mhm.
while after he tamed Pegasus, the horse, you know.
And
Okay,
chimeras are like almost like a baby Cerberus. They're not to be messed with. I mean, they're powerful.
yeah. Okay, so let me read what Liz Green says. The card of the Knight of Wands portrays an exuberant, flamboyant young man. So we're talking about, sorry, balancing too many things in front of me. Okay, so we're talking about this card, which is exuberant, etc. All right, so exuberant, flamboyant young man wearing a scarlet tunic and gold armor and helmet. He rides on a winged horse. A quiver of arrows is slung over his shoulder, and in his hand he holds a flaming wand. The white horse is flying upwards through the air, while below, on the ochre-colored earth, lies a dead monster, which has been slain by the young man's arrow. This beast has the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and a serpent's tail. Here in the card of the Knight of Wands, we meet the volatile, changeable, effervescent dimension of the element of fire, which is always in motion and perpetually seeking new challenges. This is embodied in the mythic figure of the hero Bellerophon, who mastered the wild-winged horse Pegasus and killed the monstrous Chimera, and then was undone by his own arrogance as he tried to fly to Olympus, the abode of the gods. Bellerophon had to leave his native Corinth under a cloud, having killed a rival and then his own brother. These deeds were not committed through malice, but through overly high spirits, and Bellerophon then sought sanctuary with King Proteus of Tyrus. I guess that's enough, but this is why the instigators on Capitol Hill were, Ron Johnson was saying that they were a highly spirited crowd. Yeah, right.
Well, and the highly spirited aimlessness. I mean, milling around, and some going crashing through windows, and some are just adjusting their caps, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were doing.
No, not at all.
Did I give I mean, I haven't read all this, Raquel, but are you satisfied with what I read?
Yeah, but I think that in the paragraph, like 1, 2, the fourth paragraph that starts probably with, because I have the Portuguese book, but probably starts with Bellerophon, the Knight of Wands, is the symbol of desire of new adventures.
Okay,
I
the
think-
way it reads here is an image of the craving for new and even more glorious adventures. I know a lot of Marines like that, actually. This highly ambivalent figure is both immensely creative and divorced from reality, for although he is the first to smell new things in the wind and the first to take up a challenge, however difficult, he is also our propensity for inflation and a kind of childlike assumption that good luck always ought to be handed out by life, no matter what we are and what we do. The Knight of Wands is a charmer. Women tend to love him, as does the wife of King Proteus in the myth. But he is unreliable, since no woman can hold him when a new adventure beckons. He is intuitive and imaginative, and in modern terms, we might also call him trendy, for he is the first to take up a new idea, a new fashion, a new lifestyle, long before the plodding remainder of humanity discovers that the new thing might be worthwhile. So I can.
Well, and that makes a great point of he's only good in flight. He does not know how to have a strong stance on the ground that he can commit to.
Yeah, and
That's the air quality.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is why it's an ambivalent figure. You know, he's actually,
It's Conti.
yeah, the main idea is to bring inside of us this wanting for challenge as well, you know. So not as in the same way as he is doing, but you know, we can take some of that force, of that creative force, and also that warrior force that he has onto ourselves as well, you know. Of course, by doing something different, but still it's the idea of the energy that he brings that we can use as well.
Yeah,
that's really important in the Persian caravanserai, which is the little house for travelers in the desert, to welcome in the ambivalent traveler, knowing this is temporary, but knowing they're going to infuse you with a whole different zeal.
Yes, they did that.
I'll share one from, there's a tarot card deck which I really enjoy. It's called Scapini Tarot. Do you know the Scapini Tarot?
Mm-hmm.
And for this one, it says it's also a departure, advancement into the unknown. And that's really important. It's not only that he's like a puer or carries all these different things, but alteration, flight, it's also absence and change of residence, change of all kinds of places where there was stability before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in that puer, the P-U-E-R, childish, childlike, I think it's maybe important to distinguish too, rather than pueris aeternus, which would be more like Peter Pan. This figure is strong.
Yes, very strong.
Whereas Peter Pan is a little, little more fluid and flighty and agile. This one means more business.
Mm-hmm. That absolutely.
Yeah, Peter Pan's more like the Page of Wands.
Right.
It's this one is in control of of the uncertainty. He's prepared for the whatever comes up.
Yeah, he's got the flying horse and everything that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
This one reminds me a little bit of one of Winston Churchill's interview questions, when he asked the gentleman, "So, sir, tell me about your vices." And he said, "Well, sir, I'm an upstanding gentleman. I have no vices." And he just cackled and laughed. He said, "Sir, either you're a liar or you actually are that boring, and I can have neither on my cabinet."
That boring.
But you know, this character in this Prince of Wands would not have answered that question like that. So,
Skip, can I show a card from
Sure.
it's from one of the two. The Book of Shadows Tarot has two decks. There's As Above and So Below. And this is the So Below card. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to keep the light off of it.
Interesting.
That's
And
nice.
what is this deck?
Very nice.
It's called the Book of Shadows Tarot.
Hmm.
Can you raise it
And-
up just a little bit and so I can see the table?
Yeah.
Okay, because the salamanders are around the table too.
She's got the salamanders are in all the wands cards. They're in a lot of the cards. She's setting up some ritual. She's got the goddess behind her and a cup. And I'm not sure about the rest
And her
of it.
table's 4 and 4. I mean, there's north, south, east, west, and then northeast, southeast, southwest, north, and all 8 directions.
So there's the 5 candles, though. She does have a candle for each of the pinnacles. And then she's got 3 candles above those
Okay.
for each of the tips of the pinnacle. That's what I mean. And these there's 2 decks, and I didn't pull out the other one. That's As Above, and this is the So Below. So the As Above would speak to the mythology for her.
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful.
with a Chinese vermilion hair. I mean, just so intense red.
Yeah, all of these court people have that.
Hmm.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that because of the salamanders.
But it's a great image too, with her completely in total focus down to her table.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that same kind of she means business kind of gesture.
It's almost
I
like
think-
a magician in flight. A magician.
Well, they're all of the court cards are female, even the king and queen.
Mhm.
Oh,
So very female-centric deck.
Well, and actually, that's a very Rider-Waite theme because one of the pieces it was theater, so that it was when you see the flat line across the bottom, it's off on the edge of the stage. So it's interesting, like you're seeing the actor on the stage, so that gender never mattered because makeup can take care of that. And I mean, it was all allegorical theatrics from one perspective. I mean, that's overgeneralizing. It's not the only, but that's one of the I find interesting pieces is when you take it. It's like Gilda's got the ballet tarot you're working on, and the theatrical aspect I find to be very important because, to use one of my favorite words that I rarely ever get to use, is dramaturgical. I mean, you're playing drama actively, but in a way that's alive and living rather than fictional and fake on stage, because you're playing with the self and the theater of the mind.
yeah, you're live like now. We're live now.
Right.
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
YouTube.
That's right. And here's a quick factoid from my wife, she sent me on a text message. Ted Cruz wants to meet with Marine Corps commander to defend Tucker Carlson. It's not clear whether they mean the commandant of the Marine Corps or a commander at a base or what. But anyway, that's where they are.
Just hearing his name makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah, mine too.
And and as a Texan, he could be further than a representative for me.
Well, I grew up in Texas, so I'm with you on that. I think he's accusing Biden of trying to eliminate poverty.
Oh man.
Oh wait, no, that was Andy Borowitz. I'm sorry.
He wants to defend Tucker Carlson on his attack of women in the Marine Corps. I can tell you.
I think we ought to go get the female tribe that are the poacher catchers that have started in Africa to protect exotic animals. And he'll see about women in the military and what he thinks about them after that. Yeah, well, let me give you a little anecdote about women in the Marine Corps. The woman who plays the trumpet in the Drum and Bugle Corps is tougher than Tucker Carlson, I can promise you. Right. Okay.
And when I was in OCS, which is now well over 50 years ago, 54 years ago, we were in the mess hall once, and there was a woman Marine captain who walked into the mess hall, and all these candidates start paying attention to her, looking at her, so on. And I think it was my sergeant instructor comes over and he growls in this young candidate's ear. Candidate, if you don't stop looking at that woman Marine, she's going to come over here, rip your head off, and then I'm not going to say what she would do with it. But it was quite explicit. Anyway, Tucker Carlson, God, these guys.
Could I read 3.5 lines out of
go ahead.
Knight of Wands? It was the last mini paragraph from my book, that spiritually strengthened through and through, may you awaken into your newly balanced you. Appear vibrantly, intensely, and strongly come forth from deep and dark places and bring your celestial light to your royal court. As a mode of being statement for this Knight of Wands, with all of that fury, passion, and desire and energy there.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to the Queens. So I'll put up the Queen's cachet that I have here so that you can be looking at that. Wow. Here they are, the Queens. Okay. The Queens are seated upon thrones representing the forces of He in the divine name of each suit. The mother and bringer forth of material force, a force which develops and realizes the force of the king. A force steady and unshaken, but not rapid, though enduring. It is therefore symbolized by a figure seated upon a throne, but also clothed in armor. The Queen of Wands, the Queen of the thrones of flame, Queen of the salamanders, of salamandrines, last decan of Pisces, first 2 decans of Aries. The Queen of Wands is water of fire, specific water in the world of primal fire. Both the Golden Dawn and Crowley cards show a queen enthroned above steady flames. In one hand, she carries the fire wand, while in the other rests on the head of a leopard. Also, the symbol of her crest is Mather's design. This animal represents the extreme ferocity of fire tamed by the queen. Her hand on the animal's head shows the power under her control. The wand shows that she is able to direct this force. And here we recall that the wand is also a symbol of the will. Waite's card appears to stress the warmth and attractiveness of the queen when she is well aspected, while also suggesting that she has the potential for violence and tyranny. So that's the Queen of Wands, according to Robert Lang. Go ahead.
Well, here's where it says on the Crowley. It says, represents the watery part of fire, a woman of adaptability, persistent energy, calm authority. That's why she's seated. So that's some of the things. Whereas in this other deck, it's more benevolent, and here's she has a baby on either side of the throne.
Wait a minute, I need to take that off the screen so we can
One
see
is
yours.
black
Go ahead.
and one is white.
Show it. She's got what on each side of the throat?
Babies.
Babies.
Yes, right here.
Okay.
One here, one there. One is black, one is white. So she commands a center.
What is
between
that deck?
both extremes. This is the Visconti
Oh,
Scarpini. No, the is Scapini Tarot by Luigi Scapini. It's really beautiful.
Those two cherubs, are they babies?
They're babies.
Okay.
They're babies. They're babies. They're inside a little. They're wrapped, so you can see.
But the dark and the light both, right?
Yes, the one is black, one is white. Completely. And she has the cat curled on her lap. And
cradling the familiar.
And the moon, half a moon on one end of the throne, and the wand is flowering. And she stands beneath her is a tiger with like a tiger skin or something facing you. So she's in command of the tiger that the princess was carrying behind her as a backing. Here she is solidly seated on it, commanding a certain amount of stability.
Okay. Let's see. Raquel, we have the Queen of Wands in the Mythic Tarot deck. She looks very strong indeed.
Yeah, she's Penelope.
Penelope.
Yeah. She's actually the wife of the hero Ulysses. And he is represented by the King of Swords, actually. In the Mythic Tarot, she represents loyalty, the hardcore loyalty that the fire element can represent. Because in her story, she's married to Ulysses, but Ulysses goes to the Troy War and he comes back to his home. The war itself lasted 10 years, and he actually got lost for another 10 years. So she was 20 years alone, taking care of his kingdom. So, and she did it all on herself, and she didn't remarry, waiting for him. So she is kind of the sole representative of loyalty. Hardworking, versatile, creative, talented force, but based on a strong will. So she's the most stable of all the court cards, I think.
Raquel and everyone, I have a question, because you're saying that she's the most stable. The book I'm reading right now about tarot says that this card represents the part of the self that is passionate. How are we, or how am I to understand that? The previous one, the Knight, says that the part of the self that represents is conscious, but this one says passionate. So, I don't know.
The fire of life, desire will never. And here's the thing: even with a cynic, it's not gone. They're protecting their last ember. They're just afraid. But this is that fire of life that never leaves. That when you have this inside, it's, I guess, the old notion of true love or true friends are the fire that requires no wood, I think is the metaphor. And that's something that's innate and inherent. And as you said, Raquel, it's the sole purpose of the kingdom being protected. And what is interesting, it's also soul, like the soul within, where she made sure that all of the sovereignty of the lands were upkept and well lived. Completely loyal. I mean, that's not even loyal. That's just, hey, this is what we're doing. I mean, she's married to her purpose, and that to me seems extremely stable.
Would that have to be, I don't know, I'm just trying to understand this. Would that have to be with a stubbornness, kind of a stubborn person? This is what I want and nobody's going to move me from this.
No, that seems a little too brittle. She's more wise in a sense, like she would have coffee or tea with Pallas Athena and they would hang out and laugh, and they would just laugh and laugh and laugh, because there's no convincing in their world. I mean, they're immovable. At the same time, they're also fluid. Raquel, could you speak to that stability of this card?
Well, I wanted to ask Patricia to say again the beginning of her question, because I just forgot. Sorry.
It's okay. No, well, I'm reading a book. This book, the name of the book is The Secrets of the Tarot Rider-Waite. So, and in the description they make of this card, part of the description says that the part of the self that represents is passionate, like passion,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was wondering, what would that mean? What does it mean?
Well, in the Mythic Tarot, actually, the loyalty is actually seen as sexual fidelity as well, not just loyalty to the kingdom, but also loyalty to the man, So I think that maybe her passion is guided to one goal, it's kind of focused and centered. It's not that she's not passionate, but she doesn't, I don't think that she's passionate for a lot of things, or for a variety of subjects or even people.
Once she has her mind on something,
she goes for it.
There's something
like
really
laser focus,
but there's something even greater than that she features, and it says that she is this lady of spirit and inventiveness. So she is top creator. She invents, and she has that is where the fiery nature lets loose. That she invents, and therefore she keeps it all going through her ingenuity. So that separates her from being an earth queen or something else. She has the spirit of inventiveness going there.
Well, Raquel, when you said that of that intense fidelity, it felt like there's a quality of she is herself living sacred architecture. I mean, it's the stability there is complete.
Yeah,
she's an inventor.
I have to wonder though, being like, I don't even want to be the devil's advocate in this case, but what we've been seeing, our former president and his followers, is a lot of loyalty and a lot of passion. And directed the wrong way, did a lot of damage. But I see good. that was blind loyalty and all-consuming passion.
Yeah, I think you said the clue word, blind. Yeah. There's a lot of blindness. And in this card, I think it represents a person that has knowledge.
Okay.
Right.
So,
and she's not in any way blind. She sees everything, but every question is just urgent to the asker. She'll respond when she feels it's important. Otherwise, you might feel like you don't exist. And not in a dismissive way. It's just that she doesn't waste her energy. I think the fidelity she has is to everything in her life.
According to this story, when Odysseus was away, she had 112 suitors or something.
Yeah.
And
she didn't love any of them, though.
No, and she promised to decide.
That didn't mean anything.
Yeah,
exactly.
And she kept him waiting for years before she would make a decision, which she didn't do. And so these suitors hung around Odysseus's palace and ate his food and seduced his maidservants, apparently.
So she was a community service. It's in a really bad way.
Yeah.
No, but that's the fidelity of her focus too, where just because she's not going to, I guess like Carl Jung said, he was surprised in America that women paid so much attention to trying to get men's attention. And she doesn't do that.
Skip, I think that it's not the last paragraph, the one that's above in the mythic tarot book. I think that is the greatest one, and it's kind of small.
The one, it's called Penelope, the Queen of Wands. Is that what you want? Okay.
No, it's go to the last paragraph in that section, right. The one above it.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, let me just read down. Penelope, the Queen of Wands, is an image of loyalty of the heart and of the strength of the creative imagination to sustain the heart's chosen goals. She is, in one sense, a picture of a faithful wife, but her faithfulness is not necessarily a literal one, and some versions of the myth question this technical sexual loyalty. Penelope's loyalty springs from a much deeper level. All through the years of her husband's absence, she has no way of knowing whether he is dead or alive, and at times it would obviously be more convenient to choose another husband and get on with her life. Yet she knows intuitively that Odysseus will return, and it is this quality of faith and loyalty which springs not from enforced morality, but from a deep inner conviction that in the end, everything will turn out all right. That makes Penelope so suitable a figure to illustrate the Queen of Wands. This figure is industrious, creative, versatile, strong-willed, and talented. So we might expect from any of the representatives of the suit of wands, but she is also self-contained and stable, for her fire is banked and becomes the warmth of the hearth fire, a center in which many are attracted, like the 112 suitors who had drawn not only to the kingdom, but to the woman. The Queen of Wands does not go chasing after rainbows or try to fly to Olympus, pastimes more typical of the night. She holds her great strength and energy within and devotes them to those few things to which she has given her heart. In some ways, Penelope, the Queen of Wands, is an ancient image of that superwoman figure towards which so many modern women aspire, the woman who is capable of loyalty and love and relationship, yet who also has the strength, ingenuity, creativity, and tireless energy to rule her world in her own right and needs no strong shoulders to lean on or a socially acceptable label of wife to make her a worthwhile and self-confident individual. When the Queen of Wands appears in a spread, it is time for the individual to begin to develop these qualities of warmth, constancy, loyalty, and creative sustaining of a vision which Penelope so aptly symbolizes. The Queen of Wands may enter one's life as such an imaginative and magnetic woman, full of warmth and life, life. But if such a person enters one's fear, it is not by chance, but rather an augury that the individual is about to meet these attributes within. Okay. That's an interesting twist on the divination idea.
And Raquel, that's a great paragraph from that. You're going to encounter someone, and then as I kind of piggybacked in, that's going to challenge you to push yourself internally to that higher octave.
I just out of
Both.
curiosity, I'm going to check what Devani Wolf says about the Queen of Wands. She tends to also nail it. So just a moment. She says, keys, having vision, passion, identified direction, balance, frustration, intolerance. Or, I guess that's reversed. I guess I'm going to have to bring these out next week because she always has interesting imagery, but I don't have the imagery scanned. So we'll have to talk about that next week.
So here are 4 short lines with the Queen of Wands. Visualize the life of a tiger as you tow your life with the weight and grace of your own body. Your grace and strength and passion fuel your dreams. They are the heartbeat of all you do. Feel the magic of your dreams, breathe life into your actions.
Okay, any other thoughts? Go ahead, Tammy.
No, I was just waving good night. All of a sudden, I started yawning. I'm just exhausted.
Good night. We're going to have
Thanks for being here.
End earlier.
Thank you for all you shared.
Anyway.
I find curious that the earlier tarot doesn't show the feline, and all the other later versions do. Well,
and that's also a break between Crowley and Waite. You start to see this fracture occur mostly in the family of the courts, more than you do even in the themes of the other cards. And that's a really good point with the feline and not being in the Waite. Which is interesting because the feline, you get the sacred feminine very powerfully there. And in the Waite, it's kind of truncated or just removed.
Oh,
ignored.
In the Reign of the Baton, in that one, that's the only one where there's no feline there.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
The other ones is watching you. They're always watching.
Right.
Are you going to show us something, Raquel?
No, actually, I was looking at the pictures because I don't know if you guys.
You went muted.
You guys hear me now?
There you go.
I was looking to the pictures, and there's a little difference between dreaming with big cats and dreaming with small cats. And the bigger cat gets, the greater the power and the strength that you have to master. So it's kind of a warning, but a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the Rider-Waite, this is, it's a small cat, so
it's a black cat too, though.
Yeah,
but it is small.
It's a symbol of
even,
sexuality. It's a symbol of sexuality, and I think it's so small to kind of give the idea that is is tamarind in some way. You know, it's hers. You know, it's not gonna take over her. And in the other cards, there's always this possibility of the cat jumping on her out of nowhere. So
Yeah, more like Cato, right?
Well,
Gilda, do you want to say something? You're muted.
The arm is in the other ones. The arm is on top of the head of the cat on both, where the cat is bigger.
mhm.
She's control. She's got her
Yeah,
sense on it already. And where small, he's loose. The black
she
one
does.
is
But
loose.
the thing about big cats, I mean, even though you can have your hand on them, and even though you have a good relationship with that feline, it might always, you know, change its mind. So in the Mythic Tarot, she actually has a chain over a lioness. So it's it is in a way a controlled power, but it always can like overpower you. So you have to have kind of like a respect to it. So
Yes,
Oh,
that
yes.
area of respect is very important. And in some older Egyptian motifs about the feline, it's about not ever losing your concentration of being in the
Mhm.
present moment at the highest level. Because if you get distracted with some outer something, then anything could happen. They
Yeah,
used to have lions pulling things, and they sat next to the pharaoh and so on, but because they never lost that point of concentration, the
yeah.
focus that saw everything. There was the minute that they did, then the lion could attack you or anything else.
Mhm.
So that's part of
Yeah.
that's something.
Well, if you'll notice with cats too, there's a concept where if these are cat's ears, seeing with cat's ears, you're sitting there talking to your cat like this, and all of a sudden they did not lose their gaze with you, but now they
Mhm.
see that, and that, and that, and it's a concept I call seeing with cat's ears, where the whole time, you know, this never goes away. In fact, it may even intensify.
Oh, I need to activate my cat.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, work on like literally close your eyes and try to see with your ears. It's like Batdar, you know?
Yeah, so
And
I'm just
because
going to
they have night
emphasize
vision.
what Raquel said
Right.
here with the, I don't know if
They
I'm
have
getting
night
that big
vision
enough, but
Mm-hmm.
and day
She's-
vision. So.
she does have the chain around the cat's neck here.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Raquel, with that. And the managing a big cat like that. I mean, there's a managing until it decides it doesn't want to be managed, and then things change.
Yeah.
Well, that means she has harnessed the lunar and the daylight awareness. She has it harnessed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the chain it's a little bit loose. It's not like a tight chain. And in her hand, she has a calm hand. She's not, you know, gripping like with
Right.
strength. So it's
It's more a symbol of linked connection, even.
yeah.
And that's where the creativity arises, that she can link to the night, the lunar side and the solar side.
So the question is Odysseus the king in this one, in the Mythic Tarot?
He's the king of swords, right?
He's the king of swords, not
Yeah.
the wands.
Oh, okay.
A little cross-pollination in the Mythic Tarot.
Okay.
I think it's suitable because you know
yeah.
he's the king of air and she's the king, the queen of fire. I think
Yeah, they
complement.
they complement each other.
Right.
She's waited 20 years for a bonfire for both of them. Burn the kingdom right down. One night home and the whole kingdom got burned down.
Okay, let's look at some kings, shall we? It's lightning.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it'll be the
that's
night
nice.
and Thoth.
Just say something, Gilda, so we can get that larger. Hello. Say hello.
Hi, this is the one from the Scarpini Tarot. And it says, it's a very whimsical, it's done by one of the best artists of Italy at the time.
Mhm.
And it's got Rasputin riding on a donkey. It's really very cool. I'll say what it tells you about this one. It says,
So what is the name of the tarot again? I'm sorry, it went by me.
Scapini, Scapini, the medieval Scapini Tarot. Sorry,
Yeah, okay.
medieval Scapini Tarot. So let's see here. It's a King of Wands. A barbaric king, primitive, strong, and bold, sits on a rustic throne made of pickaxes, spades, and rough boards. At the top are 2 horns and sheaves of rushes, with a candle burning in the center. His crown is made of copper, wrought in the shape of acorns. His beard and hair are red and wiry. The armor he wears is of copper, decorated with flames, and a goat's head, which is partly hidden behind the club he holds. A tankard of beer, so he has a good time, eh? Is at the feet. An ancient Japanese oil lamp and a brazier roasting 3 chestnuts lie on a carpet of dry leaves. In the background is an autumnal wood in golden light.
So show us the card again.
It's a very beautiful deck.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I like the interrelatedness of the image.
Yeah, so it's the first time they said it's bold, primitive. So not every king is, refined and so on. This one has got some really got, kind of like down and there he's having his beer and so on. And he's gonna do whatever he's gonna do.
Okay, well, let's look at some of these other cards then.
There's a king.
Well, there's a king.
Then the wand goes through. He's holding it outside where you can't see. And this is where this deck got simple, where it's subtlety, because the Queen of Pentacles is in his head, living there. So this fire is grounded. But the sun and the deep dark blue unconscious is his cerebellum, below the brain, in a way. So this to me was just one single sovereign gesture, as strong as a king would make, which is kind of inspired by the Queen of Wands, that, as Raquel was talking about with Penelope, that kind of stability in the utmost intensity.
Okay, well, here are the kings as my friend Robert Wang referred to them. So again, the Golden Dawn, the Thoth, the Rider-Waite, and the Marseille. Okay, so the 4 kings are figures mounted on steeds. Golden Dawn and Crowley versions represent the Yod forces in the name of each suit. The radix, father and commencement of material forces, a force in which all the others are implied, and of which they form the development and completion, a force swift and violent in action, but whose effect soon passes away, and therefore symbolized by a figure on a steed riding swiftly and clothed in complete armor. Okay, that's on the first 2.
Knight of Wands. Is that a Knight of Wands?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Wands.
sorry. I got the wrong one. I beg your pardon. I'm
No,
reading.
that's the way it works in Thoth.
I'm reading the. I'm reading the king, but I'm showing the knight. So I beg your pardon. Thank you.
Well, the
Right.
Thoth has no king. It's a page, princess, queen, and knight.
Oh, there's no king.
Because the old story, actually, and even in the Rider-Waite, the king is not the consort of the queen. The knight is the consort of the queen, and then the king is the unity of them both together. So
Mm.
in Thoth, when he went female, female, male, prince, princess, prince, queen, knight. That's
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
just a
right.
clear indication that the knight is truly the consort of the queen, with no uncertain terms that a king even exists as a trickster of the unity. So you take the
Mhm.
unity of the whole court there. So you have it correct
Okay,
with the
Yeah,
images.
Yeah.
you do.
All
I
right,
was
so
wondering.
that's where we are.
Prince
Anyway.
Yeah, and
Charles.
that's a clarifying point that it's good with the Thoth to bring up, just that the knight's the consort of the queen,
Yeah.
and then that run that storyline. So you've got it all correct there.
Confuses me.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's what came up when I was pulling it up. So, King of Wands, Lord of the Flame and of the Lightning, King of the Spirits of Fire, King of the Salamanders. First two decans of Sagittarius, the King of Wands is fire of fire, specific fire in primal fire on the Tree of Life. The Marseille King is seated on a throne and holds a wand in his right hand. Waite's King is also seated and holds the same fertile wand found in the rider Ace of Wands. His crown indicates flames as the serpents behind and on his robe refer to Hokmah.
And Chokmah would be the feminine original wisdom noun,
Yeah.
like prior to Sophia.
So the Golden Dawn and Crowley cards symbolize the dynamic outrushing pattern of this energy, with the Moorish Arabian black horse, which leaps through the flames. The king's crest is a winged horse head. Like all of the Golden Dawn court cards, he is in armor, implying that the qualities of the elements which they symbolize do life's battles for us. In his hand, he carries the same wand found on the ace, showing that he is the motive vehicle for the fire force. So that was the kings. So go ahead and further comment.
I'll read what it says. Because it's very interesting on the Crowley deck. Just a couple of things. It says the instinct would be expansion and vastness, claim to leadership. The goal, the utilization of the individual potential. That's very nice. And the light, humane ideals, intellectual activity, dynamic ability to become enthusiastic, strength of will. There's a shadow aspect. Do you want to hear that one too?
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, despotic nature, egotism, intolerance. And then quality, claim of creator, becoming one with the inner images, identification with God. That's Crowley. And we find it curious that none of them are necessarily looking straight out at the viewer.
Yeah.
In this one, he's facing you straight on, and that makes more sense to me from what I just read. That you know, the person is facing straight on.
Right.
Well, and paying attention to his own perspective wholly and completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, these
but
are kind of.
Here's the, I don't like the King of Wands much in the Mythic Tarot, but this guy is looking straight on.
Right.
He's he looks like a callow fellow, so he doesn't look like he deserves Penelope. Even a little effeminate, I would think. Long.
Well, even his hands are a little spindly, I think, right?
Yeah. So it doesn't look like he can keep up with Penelope. And
He's
obviously,
he's Theseus, and he's
Yeah.
actually married to the Amazon queen Hippolyta. So he actually
so here it says, here in the card of the King of Wands, we meet the active, dynamic, lordly dimension of the element of fire, which symbolizes the creative imagination. This is embodied in the mythic figure of King Theseus of Athens, whom we met briefly in the numbered cards of the suit of wands as one of the companions of Jason on his adventure to capture the golden fleece. King Theseus personifies all the exciting, outgoing, impulsive, bad-tempered, tremendously infectious spirit of fiery energy. His mother, Aethra, was loved both by the god Poseidon and King Aegis of Athens. Theseus was jointly fathered by them, but did not know of his origins until he was 16. He then set out on many dangerous adventures to claim his place in Aegis's heir. He offered himself as one of the tribute of youths and maidens to be sent to Crete to be fed to the terrible Minotaur, enchanted King Minos' daughter Ariadne into helping him destroy the monster and return to Athens in triumph, passing through not only violent combat with the monster, but also fire, earthquake, riot, and terrible seas. When he became king of Athens in Aegis's place, he was full of new and brilliant ideas of how to unite the constantly warring Greek city-states. And through a combination of charm, good salesmanship, physical prowess, a flair for the dramatic, and a brilliant mind, managed to persuade these independent and haughty lords to pull together under one yoke over which he presided as king. Now, I don't get that out of this guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Where did he go? I had him here. Oh, here he is. I don't.
No, his posture doesn't. I do have to say though, Raquel's cat is just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an awesome cat.
Is his name Om?
his name is Henri Postel. He it's an homage to a Haitian author.
Uh-huh.
So I guess
Nice.
you're a fire queen.
A little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, some of the analogies here, creativity is definitely belonging to this fiery element. And as a person says, the active man who pushes for development while being mature and benevolent. In the analogies of zoos and all of the personifications of the higher self, God and the Father. So I agree with Skip that image of the fire is not working.
No,
that's
not
perplexing
working.
me though, in a way. Raquel, can you speak to Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, married to, because that's curious. And what's more to that?
Actually, the only thing that there is to that is he couldn't keep a regular queen, so he married someone that was like him. He was a warrior, so he needed a warrior woman. So Hippolyta actually ended up dying in one of his battles. So it's kind of like the bittersweet part of his life, But the idea of Theseus is to be a leader. And there's another part in the mythic tarot that I think it's great. That is the King of Wands is about innate nobility and inner strength. Theseus is not only an audacious young man. He is above everything else a strategist, and I don't know how to say this, but it says like he has the strength to manifest his own point of view, and I think that is the most important part of the King of Wands. And in readings, I actually think that the King of Wands is an annoying presence, you know, because he's a reminder of what we want to do, you know, how to be the leader of our own life and what we want to do. And he's a constant reminder if we're not living as a true leader of ourselves. So it's kind of an annoying presence, you know, when you go in readings and he keeps showing up. He's an annoying presence because he is that part of ourselves that shows up in the night when we're trying to go to sleep and just keeps badgering us like, why did you not do this today? Come on, we had a plan, you know. You promised me and you didn't deliver. Like it's annoying. It's good, but it's annoying.
Now that
So
you're
greetings
saying that,
to Australia here. We have Nicole joining us. And
hi, Nicole. So in the
Hey,
book
Nicole.
I'm reading.
Just a minute, Patricia. Nicole, we're starting at 11 or 10 p.m. at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, your time, 10 a.m. Tuesday for our discussion, and the live stream starts at 11 a.m. your time on 11 a.m. Tuesday.
We had our daylight savings kick in this weekend, so
right. So you're 15 hours ahead. I don't expect you to keep that in mind, but it's 11 a.m. Tuesday.
So what's happened in 15 hours in the future? I want to know.
Are you having a nice day?
I keep my head down, you know, I don't.
Okay.
What's happening? Well, there's a lot of people in Australia. There's a real, maybe it's just my circle, but there seems to be a real drawing towards people being more spiritual, you know, and being more awakened and searching out, you know, kind of things that are less to do with established order and more to do with personal kind of things that are going to enhance and assist people. Like there seems to be that.
Terrific.
Yeah, and just a really niceness, like people are really polite and people are really nice to each other.
Oh, that's not
That's
like
what
Americans. We're all nasty to one another. Sorry,
Well, it's
Patricia.
different. Yeah, it's different. It's a different vibe because, like, out here, it's sort of, you know, and I do have a lot of conversations with people who know about what's going on in the rest of the world too. And, you know, we understand how lucky we are. You know, we kind of understand how lucky we are to be, because our government, you know, we did get onto it. We got onto all the COVID stuff. So there's been a real, like a kind of this lovely groundswell of like this new thing that no one really knows what it is. But it's like this, just a nice, I guess, like a new ethics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you getting immunization?
No, I haven't heard anything about it, actually. Haven't actually heard anything about that. I mean, I should look into that. I don't know. I got the paper yesterday.
Okay. All right. Nicole is sort of.
Anyway, why are you in bed? What's going on?
She's had a long day. She had a long day.
I don't know why.
Well, you know, Nicole, when you read the paper, you know, if you don't read it, you're uninformed. But once you read it, you'll now be misinformed. So
Meanwhile, Patricia, you wanted to say something. Patricia.
Yes, Raquel, you answered my question ahead of time. You were talking about that part of the King of Wands that is annoying. And I was thinking that, in the book I'm reading, it says that it represents the part of yourself that is restless. And I was like, how can I understand that restlessness? But now I know it's that part that keeps annoying you, right? And doesn't stop. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
One has to get acquainted with the inner critic. It's a real fellow.
Because the King of Wands, the other thing that is interesting about him, and when you keep drawing that card over and over again, is that you know what to do. That is what he's telling you. You know what to do. You know what to do and how to do it. It's just a matter of courage, to face it in the way that you want it. And I spent a year. Last year was one of the cards that I draw the most, and it's very annoying.
Well, there's a joke in architecture firms where you walk in, you go, there's good news and bad news. What do you want first? Like, good news. What's the good news? Well, we signed up another project. What's the bad news? You got to draw it.
Right. That's life.
And that's that annoying piece. If you're on the other end of someone else, it's like, oh, all right.
So Nicole, I'm sorry to say that I'm sort of losing it today. So I don't think I'm going to go on for another 2 hours as we have done in the past. Are there any final thoughts that anybody have? Either one question is whether you want to look at some other decks with the court cards, which we could do because they've been enlightening, but it requires me to have enough time to get the slides together. Or shall we go on?
Summarize some of the things we've been talking about, which I found explored through our exploration. I have come to realize that it's a very noble quality of the wands, is that they have a certain honesty and benevolence in the fire behind their agency. And so they remind me of a humanitarian versus, even though they're a strategist, but they have these other qualities that inform them ahead of time before having any other kind of smarts taking over. So
that's a really good point, because especially with the King of Wands being the first deacon or decan of Sagittarius, the Sagittarius, the centaur is both the beast and the divine. I mean, you have the horse body and then the male or female torso, depending on which gender centaur. And that's that both and again of that agency you're talking about. It's benevolent because it's nature. I mean, it's strong enough to be gentle because it's completely unthreatened.
It's very creative and independent.
Right. What we haven't talked about is that it's intuition too, so that the king and the queen are past masters of intuition, and I can say something about it because I live in that part of the MBTI world.
Right.
That the one king can sit back and understand what's going on before diving into something. But what often happens, what happened throughout my life, is that I would leave things too quickly. Okay, so in other words, I started different careers, and left them because they weren't good enough for what I wanted to do. And it's only since I've been doing Jung that I finally found one that I really like. Although I like my colleagues in Kuala Lumpur also, but
It may
this-
be that all along it was your underbelly. It was there all along, and then you finally came to its fullness after you tried all other kinds of things too.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like the typical American who tries everything before finding the right thing.
Yes.
Tries everything else before finding the right thing. The Americans always get the right answer, right? This is what Winston Churchill said. Americans always get the right answer after trying everything else.
Well, and then the other old joke is, oh yeah, I'm an overnight success after 48 years of hard work. So
Right. So anyway, so speak now if you'd like to say anything more about these cards, and then I guess we'll try to go on with the cups.
And of
next
course,
week.
it comes the warmth, the big warmth that comes from all of the wands that carry that more than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
And I would suggest too that we bring the Mythic Tarot in as a staple, because Raquel really informs the mythology, and that to me really enriches the characters and the cards
Yeah.
in a way, gives us a real good touchstone and launching points that are a lot more verdant, a lot more rich.
Well, and I still like the Starman Tarot and the
Yeah.
She-Wolf Tarot also.
Actually, the one I use is the Mythic Tarot that I've used it for like 20 years. I
Oh,
have
is that
other
right?
ones. I have other ones, but that's the one that I ended up using for whatever reason.
Interesting.
Mm.
Um,
Interesting. Is Raquel, are you a Sagittarius?
Yes,
So
yes.
am I.
Yeah.
So am I.
Me too.
And Jordan, we've got 3 Sagittarius here.
Yeah.
What are your moons?
Gemini.
Gemini as well.
Yeah. Okay. Capricorn
moon.
conjunct the ascendant. So
Mm. It's a full moon, born on a full
yeah,
moon.
I've got a day sky
Yeah.
moon too. So it's like at the sun and the moon and
Got
in the day.
Aquarius rising.
I really have to
Nice.
study more astrology because you guys might as well be speaking.
I have
Greek.
fire
So,
grand,
yeah.
a fire grand trine standing straight,
Nice.
completely straight, ding, boom, with Venus up here at the top
Mhm.
in Scorpio.
Yeah, I have.
Skip's like, this is Sanskrit. What are you talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah.
She understands, and you
Yeah.
understand. You
Oh
just
yeah,
don't.
I definitely do.
I have no
have
idea.
Scorpio
So
rising.
it's not fair, guys. You have to tell us. You have to teach us.
We may do that. at some
Astrology is
point.
like tarot, one of those ancient
Yeah.
things that's just.
Mm.
All I know is that I have Jupiter ascending. That's all I know.
Oh, so then you're very expansive.
Oh,
Yeah, very expansive and energetic.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I bet
definitely.
you can throw a bolt of lightning when you need to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
I was
doubt,
gonna
no
say.
doubt.
That's
Let's
my
don't make it all
family.
hearts and flowers. Let's don't make it all hearts and flowers.
And we checked out Skip. He's a Libra with some Scorpio and things of this nature going on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that you've got the mystical planets that
Mhm.
that throughout your life probably led you to where you are right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's true.
Well, and with Libra too, the home's very important as a place to make sure you have a place to go to the depths.
Well, yeah,
I
Libras
mean, your
are
Buddhism,
sociable.
and you and you and Debbie's Buddhism speaks to that. I mean,
Mhm.
that Scorpio depth, that's just
Yeah.
matter of fact. It's just present.
Well, Deb is a Taurus. So
Well, I have to say good night to you and to everybody in the YouTube channel. So if Nick, Manuela, if they
yeah.
are there. So
Have a
good night.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good.
Bye.
Good night,
Good night.
Patricia.
Good night,
And,
Bye,
Patricia.
Raquel.
I-
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night,
yeah,
Patricia.
Good
I'm gonna call this to a pleasant end because I'm just whipped.
Well, and thank you all guys tonight. I really like the way where this conversation ran. This is a really nice journey today.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay.
And the mark of the self is tomorrow, correct? Or it's not tomorrow.
No,
next,
it's
Next week.
next
it's the
week. Okay.
29th.
Gotta make sure I don't miss it.
Wait a minute. And
23rd, right? Is it?
Next week, I guess.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
I got this note from Debbie just now.
What did it-
So
What did it say?
the last time she was passing me notes,
Oh, that's
it
right.
was
the
January
insurrection.
6th,
It's the insurrection day.
and I was announcing what was happening in the insurrection to the group. But today, today it's a special moment. Here you are. You should know, in a rare and beautiful and fleeting moment of synchronicity in the cosmos, all your socks are matched. Savor the moment.
Oh my God.
We have serious sock issues. There's always widows and orphans.
Well, right when the pandemic started, I saw a cartoon and it was all the socks marching towards the dryer. And the big socks were looking at the little socks and go, you guys all hold hands and come in and out together. Otherwise, you'll use you as toilet paper. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. On that note, I'll